He was focused on moving forward on NAFTA and felt that if we could get a good deal on NAFTA, there would be no need for tariffs.
We're negotiating right now NAFTA, and we're going to hold off the tariff on those two countries to see whether or not we're able to make the deal on NAFTA.
A bit of a rare move for this president. He did what we hoped he would do. That was Justin Trudeau on Wednesday, then Donald Trump from today. After they spoke on the phone, Trudeau hoped for, lobbied for, expected an exemption from steel and aluminum tariffs, and indeed he got that today, but there are still a lot of questions. Good thing At Issue is here for all of that. Joining me tonight, Chantal Lebert is in Montreal as usual, Andrew Coyne is in Toronto, and Chachi Kurl is in Toronto too. Good to see everybody. A very high-paced, intense week for the government. One government official said to me it was the most lobbying that the Canadian government had done in a week over the past year to make sure that they were exempt from the steel and aluminum tariffs. Chantal, let's start with you. How do you think the government handled this?
I have heard no criticism of how the government handled this week, and I don't want to take credit away from their lobbying effort, but I suspect that part of the success also comes from pressure internal to the United States on President Trump to rethink where he was going with this.
Andrew, do you think that this is more about Canadians telling Americans to remind the president this was a bad idea, or more about Canadian influence?
Well, I think the first point of praise is what they didn't do, and they didn't launch into immediate histrionics or extreme rhetoric or, heaven forbid, retaliatory tariffs. They took their time. I'm sure there was a lot of lobbying going on behind the scenes. I'm sure there was from the Mexican side as well. And yes, Chantal's quite right. There are a lot of elements within the United States who, whether they're allied to us or not, they're certainly allied to us on this issue and don't want to see these tariffs go into place. It's certainly particularly ridiculous to be invoking this in the name of national security when we are part of the same defense production agreement, have been for decades. And if it was about security, then it's ridiculous to be then linking it to NAFTA. But before we get too excited, they haven't exempted us from the tariffs. All they've done is they said, we're now going to attach them to the NAFTA talks. So I suppose that's marginally better. It's better to be not to be shot tonight, but to have a chance to ward off being shot tomorrow. But it's not hugely better.
It's good that Andrew always has an upside to these things, Chachi. What do you make of how this will be perceived in terms of how the government knows how to manage the Trump administration?
Right. So this is an opportunity for the Trudeau government to return to a place of strength, keep calm, turn on the charm. And that strength really is managing the wacko factor that is the Trump administration. And so the stakes are really high. You know, we can grin about what Trump will do next, and it's often entertaining, it's often horrifying. But when it comes to these exports, more than 90% of Canadian steel exports go to the United States. That represents a fifth of imports into the U.S. That's jobs, that's money, that's commerce, and even an exemption, a temporary reprieve for the time being, I think is significant. It needs to be acknowledged. And for the Trudeau government, they've got to be very happy today because it enables them to turn the page, not talk about everything they haven't been very good at lately, and really turn the foil and the narrative here into Trudeau the hero who's fighting Trump, as opposed to Trudeau the goat who's having to answer very uncomfortable questions in the House of Commons about other things.
What does it tell us about their overall strategy? And I know, at least for Chantal and Andrew, you guys have been reluctant to say too much definitively on that because we don't know the outcome of NAFTA. But if we were going to say that the Liberals are good at managing Trump, would we not have assumed that this would never have happened? Or is he just so unmanageable, unpredictable, that this is the least you can, or the most you can expect from the government? Chantal first, yeah.
If you're going to say that this shouldn't have happened, then you're asking Justin Trudeau or anybody else, Emmanuel Macron, name a world leader, to manage Trump when his own people don't seem to be able to do that. So I don't think you can criticize fairly the Canadian government on that score. I think there is a general consensus that on this, the government has been able to build a coalition that so far has sustained all the bumps in the road. Third, I'm not going to play the I know what is in Trump's head because I don't think anyone knows, but you have to keep open the possibility that what happened today is an elegant walking back from a previous position on his part rather than a smart strategy to negotiate NAFTA, i.e. an exit strategy to walk away from imposing tariffs on Canada.
Okay, Shachi, you go jump in now.
Well, I was only going to say that Trump often reminds me of sort of this Ottoman general quite prepared to sacrifice his own side, his own troops in the name of a perceived win. And so, yes, he's walking back. And how many times has he done that? And really, what are we talking about? 15 months into this administration? First, it was the Canadian dairy industry was in big trouble and Canada was in the crosshairs. And then it was, oh, no, Canada's okay. So we're going to see more of this. We may be into a period where there is no such thing as permanency, and all we can hope for is reprieves and walking back from the brink every time.
Let me play a clip of Chrystia Freeland, who reacted to some of this news today, and just get a sense from all of you whether you think the time invested here is actually worth what we're getting out of it.
This has been a true Team Canada effort. This work continues, and it will continue until the prospect of these duties is fully and permanently lifted.
I don't know how you don't spend every day thinking about what Trump's going to do next, but at the same time, I don't know, again, how we know that building these relationships, as Andrew talked about, this vast coalition with Republicans, with governors, with all kinds of different people, how much energy, and we've talked about it before, they're expending all of this on all of this, Chantal.
I don't think we have a choice. I don't think the alternative option to launch a war of words and then a trade war is really advantageous to us. And I think building these relationships happens to be our best shot at putting pressure on the Trump administration. There is no playbook for this. No government has been stuck with this. I'll go to Andrew's point. I do agree that some of the things Canada brought to the table sounded like they were a bit off the wall, but 2 points. If you are only playing defense, you are in trouble, so you have to bring something. And 2, if you're going to try to build a coalition that stretches left as well as right,
yes,
then you have once in a while to play politics for your own side and lecture people about progressiveness.
Yeah, and that is surprising how much they have to talk to Republicans. Liberals have to talk to Republicans in order to get this going. Okay, I want to just talk about Andrew Scheer quickly, if I can. Let me show you this tape of Andrew Scheer, or pictures of Andrew Scheer in the United Kingdom.
Hi, everyone. I'm here in London, in the United Kingdom this week, advancing Canada's interests, including free trade, security, and the potential for Canada-UK bilateral relations. It's my second international trip this year as leader of the Conservative Party of Canada. And I'm excited to share our positive Conservative vision for Canada with British MPs and cabinet ministers.
So he's getting lots of good meetings. He met with Boris Johnson. He met with Theresa May. I don't know that I remember other official opposition leaders doing this, Shachi. How is this a good move? What do you think he's up to here? And how would this be looked upon by Canadians? Like, are they seeing, oh, this is what Prime Minister Scheer would look like if he was in charge of foreign policy?
Well, this is a very U.S. play. I mean, how often do we see presidential nominees or would-be nominees sort of doing the grand tour and visiting Britain, going to the Middle East so that they can declare that they're competent on the world stage? With Andrew Scheer, he may be trying to take a chapter from that, although trying to differentiate himself on a fight in trade where really a united Canada needs to be together, and that goes across political lines. And he said, hey, we're a united team on NAFTA, and in terms of negotiating with the Trump administration, I'm not sure how much differentiation happened there, but what I will say is he's got an asset and a friend in Andrew Percy, who is the trade envoy from Britain to Canada. And these guys, diplomats say they have a bromance going on. They're about the same age. They kind of look alike. They're both Conservative MPs. And I think in this case, that political alignment enabled Percy to sort of open some doors for him in Britain and at least give him those photo ops. If we are now in the age of photo op politics all the time, he gets his photo ops. So good for him.
I've met Andrew Percy, too. He's hard to dislike. But Andrew, is this weird, or should we make anything of this, or is this just good politicking on Andrew Scheer's part?
It's a little odd, but, you know, cut any opposition leader slack. It's so hard to get any ink at all, to get any attention paid to at all. I agree with Sachi. I think part of this is also trying to look statesmanlike. Britain is probably one of the few places where he would get much time with senior officials. But thirdly, I think there's a section of the Conservative base that is hostile to the European Union, was cheering on Brexit. So I think this is partly playing to that, as well as just reminding them he's their guy. It's a kind of a hot button issue for some reason. Now, why a federal leader in Canada would be giving any aid and comfort to the idea that it's easy and desirable to break up existing constitutional arrangements is unclear to me. But there is a section of Conservative opinion that is sympathetic to that.
Okay, 20 seconds or so, Chantal, to respond to that.
So on policy, no, not a lot of distance was built this week. We also would like to talk free trade with the United Kingdom one day. Meanwhile, we've got CETA, the arrangement there. But I think the main goal was for people to see, or to try to see, Andrew Scheer in the box of a prime minister and not just the opposition leader asking questions in question period. And they figure the best way to do that is to send him away, meeting world leaders if he can find some that will meet with him.
Yeah, so not a bad play maybe. Okay, thanks everybody, appreciate it.